Welcome to
Welcome to Caleb Can't Read.
Caleb Can't Read.
I'm your host.
Your fucking co-host.
Go on.
I'm Jordan Rabel.
I'm Caleb Terrence. Proceed.
Let's begin, shall we?
Yes.
Eliza Zinovievna Rosenbaum, I think we're going to skip that middle name from now on, was born February 2nd, 1905 in St. Petersburg, in what was then the Russian Empire. She was the eldest of three daughters born to her pharmacist father named Zinovy, who owned and operated his own pharmacy, and her housewife mother, Anna. According to Eliza herself, which a lot of these feats will be quote-unquote according to Eliza, she taught herself to read at 6, wrote screenplays at 8, and novels by 10. She was close friends with a girl named Olga, who discussed politics with Eliza constantly, because kids born in Russia are just like that, I guess. The only reason I bring up Olga is because she was the little sister of Vladimir Nabokov, who would go on to write Lolita in 1948 and later finish his novel in 1953.
Gross.
It's a fucking good book.
No, don't defend that. Okay, we are not stopping
We're not going to get into it now.
No.
That's fine. We will get into it when we cover Nabokov 100 episodes later. But god damn it, I will convince you it's good.
No. I'll put that off, even if it'll be worse.
I just always find who knew who back in the day to be fascinating. That's all. All right.
Okay, cool.
Anyway, when the Bolsheviks took over the government in November 1917, Eliza was just 12 years old. Her father's pharmacy was confiscated, and the family, being a part of the bourgeois, ran away to the Crimean Peninsula, about 1,300 miles from their home, as Crimea was still under control by the old empire at this point. Well, Eliza graduates high school there in Crimea in June of 1921, and her family decides to return to St. Petersburg, now called Petrograd, so that Eliza can attend university. You see, before the revolution, girls couldn't attend college, but now Eliza could be one of the first girls to attend Petrograd State University, all at the age of 16. She majored in history and learned the philosophies of Plato, Aristotle, and Nietzsche. She learned French and German and fell in love with the works of Dostoevsky and Victor Hugo. All names familiar to you, I assume.
Of course.
The university itself called upon as many intellectuals as they could get from all around the country, trying to basically create the best and most intelligent generation they could. Just really fucking, what do they call that?
A going ham Sam?
Yeah, the sports term I was looking for. Yeah.
Yeah.
Loaded nice term, or some things. Yeah. Anyways. Proceed.
Brother.
So ironically, by the time Eliza graduated in October of 1924, the country had undergone another power shift. The university was renamed the Leningrad State University, and the same teachers they asked for just a few years prior were now being thrown onto what they called philosopherships with their families and exiled from Russia for supposedly teaching anti-communist rhetoric. Basically,
threw on ships to where?
It didn't matter.
just out in the...
Yeah, basically, if you were smart enough to basically say, communism doesn't really work, they just fucking shipped them out. It's either that or the gulag.
Where did they ship them to? I mean, if they didn't know, what are they just throwing them on air mattresses in a heavy current?
Well, to be fair, here's the thing. We're finding out about this through, Soviet documents, which I'm sure told everyone, oh yeah, we just sent them straight to the fucking Hawaiian Islands. And
oh dear. Okay. All right.
These people did go places. They were eventually, in other countries.
There may not have actually been a ship involved.
Basically, yeah. They were, horse-drawn carriage the fuck out of there. Eliza herself was almost expelled before she had the chance to graduate, along with a bunch of other students, because of their bourgeois past, just because she was born into a high society family. I mean, high society in terms of her dad had a pharmacy, I guess.
Yeah, carrying no bias there at all. Go on.
Luckily, after her graduation, she was allowed to continue her education in Petrograd, once again changed to Leningrad, and it's here that she studied film. She later published her first work here, an essay on Polish actress Pola Negri, who was a moderately successful silent film actress, but most importantly, she was the first European actress to be given a contract from Hollywood, a dream Eliza would go on to pursue herself, not as an actress, but as a writer of screenplays. And it was with this small essay that Eliza would not only begin her writing career, but to ultimately use her pen name as her own name. Just she erased Eliza from the books, and she now became this. And it's also how I will be referring to her for the rest of this episode. Ayn Rand.
Oh, no. God damn it. Fuck, let's go. Oh, God. You probably just, like, broke everyone's ears with that. I want you all to know that was genuine. He was very pleased.
It was in that same year of 1925 that Ayn would get the approval to visit some relatives in Chicago. She left her home on January 17th, 1926, and arrived in New York City by ship just a little more than a month later on February 19th. According to her, the Manhattan skyline was so beautiful that she wept tears of joy, and she knew she would stay in America. So she's 21 and she decides she's going to Hollywood to be a screenwriter. She actually ends up bumping into none other than Cecil B. DeMille, director of Cleopatra and both versions of the Ten Commandments. Well, DeMille gave Ayn a job as a junior screenwriter for his upcoming film King of Kings. Fun fact, it was the first movie that premiered at Grauman's Chinese Theater in LA, the one that's got all the fucking handprints out in front of it and shit.
Yeah.
But it was on set that Ayn would meet her future husband, Frank O'Connor. Frank was an aspiring actor, but beyond playing an extra in a few films, that was it for his career. Either way, Frank and Ayn got married on April 15th, 1929. On March 3rd, 1931, Ayn became a U.S. citizen. She would try numerous times over the next several years to get the rest of her family into the U.S., but it was all inevitably unsuccessful. It was while Ayn Rand was working for Cecil B. DeMille that she was asked to help write a script for the 1928 movie Skyscraper, which was about two construction workers who are fighting over the same woman. Well, it's gotta be fucking riveting. Well, DeMille didn't like her script, and she went a different direction, but Rand decided her script would be the basis for what would become her third novel later, The Fountainhead. Now, this is a thick novel, so eventually she would take a break from... No, because the way that you're saying it is not with a CK, it is with two Cs, and it is not that.
Excuse me.
It's just a dense novel.
Will you forgive me and proceed? I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry, Senpai.
We'll talk about this later.
All right.
No, so eventually she would take a break from writing this because of how fucking dense this book is, and she'll pursue other works in the meantime. So, meanwhile, Rand climbed the ranks whenever she could, eventually leading her to the head of the costume department at RKO Studios. Here she wrote the screenplay for the movie Red Pawn, a thriller about spies falling in love, one communist and the other not a communist. And eventually the communist converts from his wicked ways, and yeah. Anyway, Paramount Pictures bought the script for what?
She started making like anti-communist propaganda at this
point?
point?
Oh yeah. Like no, she's always been anti-communist. She's always been ultra-capitalist.
Yeah, I mean this is the first one we're going over so far where I have at least some idea.
Yeah, I figured
of who this person is.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not going to be
as shitty as communism is. It's not like jumping straight into ultra-capitalism is necessarily like a close second or anything. Like, we'll get into it.
All right.
Well, so Paramount Pictures bought the script for God knows whatever reason for $1,500 in 1932, but it kept being left on the back burner, and eventually the movie was altogether forgotten. I mean, they do that. They'll buy up IPs, just intellectual properties for shit and just never make them. So, what?
Isn't that the same reason why, like, the similar movies come out at, like, the same time? Like, you'll have, like, your fucking, like, Great Day movie and then, like, the
yeah,
one
you'll have
Finding
Finding Nemo and then you'll have Shark Tale come out at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Essentially. Yeah. because somebody else lost out on the IP. So they'll they'll twist it a little bit.
So do they just hear that like somebody's like doing that, and then they very quickly will go to the same fucking thing and buy up that so they can capitalize on?
Asylum Pictures
on your grandma just picking up the wrong movie at Blockbuster.
Yes, exactly. That is what Asylum Pictures does. They're the reason that Transformers, before that release, Transmorphers came out to hit Costco's everywhere that same year. Yeah, that's exactly.
I know what we're watching later.
It might be good. I mean, nobody's bothered to care.
Transformers isn't good.
That's true. It can't get worse. So maybe.
I mean, it can't get worse, but it might be accidentally funnier. So let's do it.
That's okay. Yeah, I'm down.
Yeah.
All right. So the main reason Rand wanted to make this movie was not necessarily for the anti-communist sentiment, but so she'd have a little scratch to focus fully on her first novel, which she titled Airtight. She began writing in 1932. It's not about butts.
I've been corrupted. I'm a millennial. I've had high-speed internet access. Proceed, please.
Airtight. All right. But it's okay because in 1932 she finished her final draft in 1934, and she changed the title. It is now called We the Living. So let's get into it. And tell me if you notice any similarities between this story and Ayn Rand herself. The story follows a woman by the name of Kira Argunova in post-revolution Russia. The year is 1922. Before I get too deep into this, do you know what a Mary Sue is?
Isn't that like a real basic character that comes in and saves the day and is constantly just, having miracles happen? What's the miracle out of nowhere thing that saves you?
Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah, that's shit. Yeah.
So basically, where the original term for a Mary Sue came from was the fact that Star Trek back in the 60s was really fucking big, and all that was hitting these like literary magazines was fan fiction for Star Trek, but every character was a teenage girl who was always saving the day because it was very clearly about the author themselves writing the fan fiction, which were like teenage girls. So basically what somebody did was they created a parody of it where the character is named Mary Sue, and she's like a doctor, she's everything. And so no matter what happens, Mary Sue saves the day. Anyways, I bring that up for a particular reason. So,
go on.
Kira is the daughter of a bourgeois family on the run after her father's textile factory is taken over by Bolsheviks. Now, returning to Petrograd, they find that their old home has been seized and developed into living quarters for other civilians. After some time describing the fight for food and long lines, going to the market and searching for firewood by busting up old signs, Kira manages to get a permit allowing her to study and work. She enrolls at the Technological Institute with the idea of becoming an engineer. It's here that she runs into fellow student who barely tries to hide his identity as a member of the secret police. His name is Andre, and because he and Kira are both fast-talking tortured souls, they become fast friends despite their differing political beliefs. It's at a get-together at home that...
she's just displaying this kink.
Yeah. She's got a big domination thing, honestly. Oh, we'll get into that, too. We're going to go all into what makes Ayn Rand wet.
Oh.
So...
Hell yeah! That's what I wanted to do with this evening.
It's at a get-together at home that Kira meets Leo, a gorgeous man with a tortured soul. Kira is instantly love-struck, so when Leo leaves the party, she follows him. I think it's assumed that Leo didn't really notice Kira at the party because when he finally notices her following him on the street, he assumes she's a prostitute. But once that's cleared up, Kira and Leo continue having rendezvous on the street, where they smoke cigarettes and talk like they're in a noir film and discuss, how much they hate the Soviets and no one understands them and their tortured souls. So
is it raining?
Fucking probably.
All right.
After a while, Kira and Leo decide their love is pure and they'll run away together, away from their oppressors. They stow aboard a smuggler ship looking to leave the country, but they're caught by the secret police. It's here that Kira learns that Leo is a wanted man. His father was an admiral, executed during the fight against the communists, but luckily, a top official who was in charge of processing Kira and Leo's arrest knew Leo's father from before the revolution. With a sympathetic heart, the officer lets them go. Now, I just want to stop here for a second and tell you that this is not good writing, and that man would 100% be executed in a fucking gulag. Like, I knew your father.
Not all just right. On sight. Like,
get out of here. Yeah, there's probably a guy with a gun to the back of his fucking head right there. Like,
at the wall.
Yeah, like, pretty much. Yeah. Like, all right, Frank, can we talk over here?
Just stare at that. Look, I wrote something on that for you. Little message. Sir?
Yeah, it's real small.
A little closer.
Get closer.
Closer? Only one of us is loaded, so, none of us are guilty.
Well, Kira and Leo, they do end up moving in together, defying traditions because Kira is such a progressive woman. The government soon disallows people with a bourgeois past to attend school, and Kira loses her job. This is the will they, won't they portion of the book, by the way. Kira and Leo get into arguments incessantly, especially because Leo can't find any other work besides backbreaking, sweaty, shirtless labor. Because of these hard conditions... I
mean, I don't know. You look as somebody who does this, you haven't met a lot of day laborers who are criticizing about this. Like, it's usually pretty.
Yeah, I know.
Pretty lumpy. I'm pretty lumpy.
Leo comes down with tuberculosis, as also the men I'm sure you know are.
No, and just mostly just lung cancer, skin cancer.
Yeah, I think we could chalk
most
that all
of
up
us just
to
can't
the same.
put on our socks.
Without just running
by
out of breath.
30.
Well, he's sent to a sanatorium for treatment. Kira begs the state to fund his treatment, as she can't afford it, but to no avail. It's around this time that Kira rekindles her friendship with Andre, the secret police classmate from her time at university, and he's still a rabid commie. One day, Andre confesses his love for Kira, and Kira says that she loves him back, but she doesn't. See, she's merely using Andre, saving up the money he gives her as gifts to pay for Leo's treatment and the sanatorium.
Just like a dirty capitalist.
This dirty capitalist whore. When Leo is discharged... Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that we didn't see capitalists as whores. Is that just me? I'm sorry.
I just didn't need the extra spice.
All right.
You just added in the unneeded spice there. It ruined the dish. Like I ruined your guts.
Tickled my kidneys.
Oh, brother.
When Leo is discharged from the sanatorium, he decides to open a grocery store, but it's really a front for black market dealings. Kind of like how I imagine Trader Joe's kind of is. Andre is quickly...
The fuck else? Like...
At those prices? Andre is quickly hinted at the grocery store's real purpose, and he starts investigating Leo. It was during Leo's arrest that Kira comes to stop Andre, and she breaks down and tells him that she's in love with Leo. Andre's world is shattered. Not just his hopes for a life with Kira, but more importantly, his politics as well. His heartbreak isn't Kira's fault. It's communism's.
I see.
This is a real moral to this fucking story. Andre lets Leo go and denounces the evils he so blindly fought for. And then Andre goes home and kills himself. At his funeral, Kira feels that she was his only true friend. But Leo, not knowing about Kira's relationship with Andre, decides he's just going to run away to become a gigolo. Alone, yeah.
Wait, you can just do that?
No, but this is a poor writer that we are following.
Yes. A writer who sucks, who doesn't understand that you don't just do that.
This is a writer with quotation marks. Alone, Kira decides to escape through the wilderness on foot in a final attempt to escape Russia. But just when she thinks she sees freedom, Kira is shot by a border guard and dies. Now, granted, the book is bad, but it's actually not unreadable. There are gold pieces of corn within this fucking rattlesnake, this cornback rattler of shit. All right, now as
a cornback rattler. What the fuck is a cornback rattler?
It's a fucking turd. But there are gold nuggets in here. All right.
How the fuck did I make it to 28 being the person I am without knowing that? It's hilarious. It's fucking golden.
As Ayn Rand once said, this book would be as close to an autobiography as she would ever write. It's not just that the character goes through the same things as Ayn did before the whole love triangle thing, because you'll see pictures of Ayn. She's in somebody's wheelhouse for sure. You know, she's not to everyone's taste, you know. But the observation that Kira makes are written with a sense of realism because these things really did happen. For instance, this is a passage from just the second page detailing Petrograd about what it was like at the train station. There were no schedules, no timetables. No one knew when a train would leave or arrive. A vague rumor that it was coming rushed a mob of anxious travelers to the stations of every town along its way. They waited for hours, for days, afraid to leave the depot where the train could appear in a minute or a week. The littered floors of the waiting room smelt like their bodies. They put their bundles on the floors and their bodies on the bundles and slept. They munched patiently dry crusts of bread and sunflower seeds. They did not undress for weeks. When at last, snorting and groaning, the train rumbled in, men besieged it with fists and feet in ferocious despair. Like barnacles, they clung to the steps, to the buffers, to the roofs. They lost their luggage and their children. Without bell or notice, the train started suddenly, carrying away those who had crawled aboard. I think that's pretty fucking good.
All right, yeah.
And that's clearly something that she had witnessed, I think.
Let's give it, where it's due.
Yeah. But the pros don't really outweigh the cons for the rest of the book is the issue. Rand ruined what could have been a fantastic first-hand experience by shoehorning a fucking love triangle in there that nobody asked for because she was trying to write a book like a movie and get her place in Hollywood. Which, unsurprisingly, she borrowed a bit of the plot from Red Pawn, that movie that never got made. This is basically the novelization of that she sold to Paramount. Well, We the Living ended up rejected by all major publishers, which shocked Ayn Rand, especially because it had the backing support of her pseudo-intellectual friends and well-known racist H.L. Mencken. It wasn't until a year later, in September of 1935, that Macmillan Publishing agreed to print the novel, but not without hesitation. See, Macmillan Publishing had just secured rights to Gone with the Wind that same year, and you cannot imagine the fuckload of cash this gave them. So they really wanted to be careful with what they were going to publish so as not to ruin their multi-million-dollar image. And it's not like people weren't publishing anti-communist material at the time, but according to Ayn Rand, the main reasons that Macmillan Publishing would have passed up the quote-unquote opportunity to publish We the Living was because associate editor of Macmillan, Granville Hicks, was strongly communist, which is true, and that they were worried the book wouldn't sell well, not because it isn't good, but because the novel is just too brave.
Brave?
It just goes nowhere else that anyone else would dare say about communism.
What they told her?
No, that's what she's telling everyone else.
Oh, okay.
There's no way that they sat her down with this shit heap of a book and were like, you know what, Ayn? It's just too goddamn brave. No, these are
too brave for us.
Yeah, these are for sure her words. Ultimately, the book was published because, again, according to Ayn Rand and Ayn Rand only, the president of Macmillan told her the book was too important not to print. Again, that's her words.
Yeah.
Don't think that guy ever said it. Yeah. We the Living was released April 7th, 1936, to very little success. Contradictory to how Rand explained it, Macmillan Publishing barely advertised the novel. The first printing was 3,000 copies, and it took them a year and a half to sell it all. Sales were very slow, and Macmillan could see the writing on the wall. Before the copies sold out, they knew there wouldn't be a second edition, so they just destroyed the printing plates. Rand's royalties from the novel were about $100.
How much was that back then?
That was $100 back then.
Thanks.
You mean,
that's what I meant. Fuck you.
What is it now? It's not going to be more than
You weren't prepared with this information for me? Do better.
Read it. No.
Absolutely not.
I honestly, it's probably not more than $2,000. Probably. It was
something laughable.
It was a nice bonus paycheck, but it's nothing that's going to fucking yeah. Wee, but you weren't going to go wee. It was more like a subtle woo,
Yeah, I mean as much as I hate this, I'm still damn it.
Yeah,
I'm still gonna be on government assistance.
I probably paid her rent for fucking 6 months, maybe. I don't know.
All right.
It's New York, so probably not that long at all, honestly. Now, the book didn't get rave reviews, but Rand blamed that on the book not being reviewed by a lot of people. But that isn't true. We the Living was not only Ayn Rand's highest rated novel, but her most reviewed as well. But Rand wouldn't stop defending her novel until it was crammed down people's throats and accepted. So with the help of a Russian stage actress, Rand started a campaign to get We the Living produced as a Broadway play. And it worked. And it's not like it was being made by amateurs either. It was being made by real veterans of the Broadway scene. And of course, Rand fought with them at every angle. The biggest of which was that the story wasn't good, but Rand refused script changes. She did eventually allow for some reworking to be done, but she kept changing the script herself in between shows. They also fired and recast the lead role of Kira during opening week, and one of the actors broke his pelvis opening night. In short, the whole show was a disaster.
It's very specific.
Well, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't write too much about it in here. I assumed that guy was as drunk as Rand was in between plays.
I mean, to be involved in that, yeah.
She was a fucking drunken mess the entire time. From all the accounts of everything, she was a fucking monster. She was just drinking and smoking and arguing with everybody. And honestly, fucking, it sounds like maybe this guy just took a fucking wrench to the hip as an excuse. Like, you know what? Fuck this. Like,
it's weird. Done. It's just like, out of everything that I could like fall and bust up or bust up while working or like pelvis.
Yeah. It's kind of like the stranger cousin to break a leg in Broadway. They say break a pelvis if you meet Ayn Rand.
Break a pelvis. No, get out of it. Get out of there. Break a pelvis.
You need to fucking go.
Get.
Look, you ever dodged the draft before? We're gonna shoot your fucking toes off.
It's gonna be like that, second. But worse.
So the show was renamed The Unconquered. But the show only lasted 5 nights before the producer pulled the plug.
Ooh.
They were scheduled for at least a couple weeks, but didn't go that far.
Or was it just like...
It's bad.
Was it... Okay.
It's a shit story.
I mean, was it just like pissing people off, or were they not feeling seen?
Well, she was doing like constant script changes, and I mean, they just... It was all her, it kind of felt like. Like, there were... As I mentioned before, there were real veterans of Broadway that could have made this work.
This a control freak? Like,
yeah. But she was just a fucking drunken mess, and she was just real piss poor at being a people person, basically. Nobody could tell her no. Like, people need to sit her down and be like, honey, I'm so proud of you. You just got your first work as a, granted, an unsuccessful novel into a Broadway play, and you've got some real fucking people here. How about you just sit this one out and let the money come to you? But she was, of course, she was a fucking control freak. Of course, the show was just too brave.
Too brave.
It was just too brave.
It's just too brave.
So, true to form, though, about this whole thing, Ayn Rand blamed everyone but herself. She blamed bad reviews on all the mishaps surrounding the show, part of which she caused. But, like, when that actor busted his hip, they had someone from the crew just read his part from the script. And guess what? The reviewers didn't give a shit, because this is Broadway and shit happens. What the reviewers tore them apart for was the fucking piss poor story. So they had a guy out there with the fucking script just reading this guy's lines. Just not an actor, just like, oh, Kira, and like, they didn't care.
So somebody went out and was like, hey, our lead here had an injury, so I'm going to read this out as best I can. Please understand.
And the reviewers understood.
Fine.
Yeah, they didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
But of course she blamed that. She blamed all this other shit. So it's just a bad story.
Yeah, but he didn't really sell it. Like, he sold it the first night when he thrust it into the whatever the fuck that prop was and broke his pelvis.
How will I ever take up the lead of man who reads from pages? So the next year, in 1937, Ayn Rand finished her second novel, a story she'd been thinking of since her time in Russia. This book, originally titled Ego, go fucking figure, would be published in 1938 when Rand was 33 years old, under the title Anthem. The story of Anthem takes place in the form of a journal from some dystopia in the distant future. The journal itself is being written by a 21-year-old man named Equality 7-2521 from an abandoned railway tunnel. Anyone reading Anthem will quickly realize that the word I is missing from the work. Characters don't say, I took a shit. It's we took a shit. It's a collective form. You see, they're collective.
So kind of like how we do it, but...
Yeah, because you get it? Because individualism...
But it's the whole world now.
Yes.
Okay.
Individualism is gone thanks to communists taking over the world. You see, your frame of mind is a collective
that's
as well.
how that works.
Anyway... Equality is doing his daily work as a street sweeper with a friend of his near the edge of the city when they discovered this railway tunnel. Equality wants to go check it out, but his friend says they can't do anything without the council say so. Equality makes his friend promise to keep quiet about it, which he agrees to reluctantly, though even this is hard because this means the kid values Equality's friendship over someone else's, and this too is forbidden. You see, we all must value each other equally as a community. Because that's what communism does.
Shut up. Go
on. Well, Equality continues to visit the abandoned railway tunnel each night because, you see, Equality feels like he's cursed, an outcast, because he's just so much smarter than everyone else. And he knows that being unique is bad because the government said so. But he needs somewhere where he can just write his thoughts down and be alone because he's such a tortured soul, Caleb. Even though this would be beneficial to Equality's psyche, doing anything for yourself and not for the community is against the law. In this dystopia, at birth, you're separated based on gender and placed in the home for infants. Sounds like a fucking terrifying place to be.
The home for infants.
It's a big white room with 100 beds and nothing else.
Yeah, like THX status, like...
THX status?
Yeah.
Oh, THX 1138. Yeah. No, I get it.
This is exactly what I'm picturing right here
Yeah.
in this weird little dystopian thing she's got going on.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's totally fine. Honestly, George Lucas probably was an Ayn Rand fan, let's face it. I mean,
yeah, he's not good, so...
he's not that great, and he writes sci-fi, so he's probably an Ayn Rand fan,
right?
Honestly.
And I mean, forgive me if I'm wrong, but wasn't like... Okay, I mean, trailing off here, wasn't the reason that the original trilogy was good because he didn't have that much creative control?
Yes. 100%. That is a fact.
And then
actually.
The prequels where he had more, and then all the more evidence presented there when it came to like the remastered editions, and then
fuck.
And then
weird CGI droids that would just show up and shit. Yeah.
The Jabba Palace dance scene that got put in with CG. You remember that, right?
I must have erased that from my fucking memory.
I wouldn't blame you, dude. It was pretty fucking traumatic. Honestly, there's like a weird bad CG dance in the middle of a classic film that just gets thrown in. And
weird.
Then, like, I don't know if where the fuck you can't find the original cuts anywhere. It's almost like scoured.
Yeah, pretty much. So the closest that you can get to original cuts are pretty much the original VHSs that came out. There are torrent downloads for them. I have them on my computer.
Oh, sick, dude.
I never watched them because I don't really give a fuck about Star Wars, but I just wanted to have them because I was like, oh, neat.
Just for the nostalgia value.
Yeah, all that I did is went to the Death Star scene to see how crappy that explosion used to be. And truly, it wasn't like, whoa, whoa, like a fucking neutron star explosion. It was just like... it was like a little flame bolt, like just, and that awesome. Was it. It was like, great, this is perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, don't mess with it though. Just leave it alone.
Anyway, so the home for infants, from the ages of 5 to 15, you move to the home of students, clearly just a big boarding house, and it's here that Equality had a terrible time. You see, he fought the other boys because he was just too smart, and the teachers don't like him because he asks too many questions. When you turn 15, you're assigned your life duty. And Equality wanted to be assigned to the home of scholars to be an inventor, since the last thing invented was the candle a century earlier. But darn it, he's just too smart, and he committed the sin of wanting something, so the Council of Vocations made him a street sweeper instead. Because here's the thing. If something is invented, it has to be everyone's thought at exactly the same time, basically. And then you all kind of just collectively invent something. So the last thing
is that really how that works?
In this, yes.
Her no.
Yeah. So the last thing invented was a candle. Somehow, I look. Anyway, We'll be here all fucking night.
I know, so proceed.
One day, Equality is sweeping over by some fields where he sees the beautiful Liberty 5-3000 working. It sounds like a fucking sex robot. Their eyes meet, but they dare not say anything.
It's 100% a sex robot if their eyes meet. Why the fuck else would it have eyes that can meet you?
Is that the Dick Sucker 5000? Like, just hanging out there on the side of the road? Equality deems her the golden one in his mind. They start a tradition of staring at each other day after day, and Equality thinks about how he wants to take Liberty to the city place of mating, but he's not sure why. Equality's first boner.
Thanks. Just go.
He tells her he has a nickname for her, but so does she. She calls him the Unconquered, like that failed Broadway play that she put on.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Later, during dinner at the boys' home, Equality sings out of happiness, but a council member chastises Equality, asking him why he feels the need to sing. He says it's because he's happy. The council member says of course he's happy. He's amongst his brothers, and also unhappiness.
Brothers.
It's forbidden.
Of course he's happy. He's amongst his brothers.
But Equality thinks, I hear my brothers sob and yell in their sleep. Are they truly happy? Equality dreams about the unmentionable times, the times before the paradise they live in now. And he dreams about the uncharted forest, the place surrounding their community. And he dreams about this one time when a guy said the unspeakable word, which is the only crime punishable by death. And the guy was burned alive in the town square for it. Oh. And when the guy looked at Equality, he seemed happy. And Equality said he looked like a saint.
What was the word?
We could just jump ahead to it. It's I. It's the word I.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Dude,
and he couldn't.
Oh my god.
And he couldn't even pass that off.
Look,
like,
man,
did you just say I feel okay? No, I said my eye feels okay. Like our eye feels okay, right, brother? Okay, huh? Like.
I mean, I knew Ayn Rand was like a piece of shit just from like being a nerd and playing BioShock. You know? Like, but now that we're deep delving into it, I'm getting a much better understanding of just like how fucking stupid all this shit was.
Oh
like,
man, they get so much worse.
Oh man, I'm excited. Let's go. Like,
I've marked down a special place in these pages for me to rant about why I even read these in the first place. I'll go into that as well, but I have to put it out here. Yeah, I have the books. I'm not happy about it, but I when I bought those books from Powell's, I was ashamed. Like, I was like, don't fucking look at me. Like,
I mean, it's fine. Like,
it's not.
To have it just like, I don't know, documented. It's not like she's alive. She died on welfare, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not like she's profiting off of it, so whatever. I mean,
it's all going to a fucking university. Quote unquote university that she has. It
better be the university of why she's full of shit. Like,
it's the Ayn Rand University.
I mean, pretty much. Oh, whoa, what? That's a thing. Whoa, I'm sorry.
It's a money laundering place. I'm sorry.
Of course it is.
Okay. I'm sorry. It is not my position that it is a money laundering place that still exists and could sue me into the ground.
We're that capitalist.
It is.
Holy shit. Why aren't we? Yeah. No, yeah. Why didn't I think that?
Join the Caleb Can't Read Patreon. Give us $1 and Caleb will literally suck your dick.
Where the fuck did that come from?
We got fucking cash, baby. Come on.
Now.
Well, Equality begins hosting experiments for himself in his little fucking tunnel, and using a dead frog and some copper wire, rediscovers electricity. He MacGyvers it. Don't worry about it. It's done.
It's fine. Yeah.
Now, once someone knows something new, and it's supposed to come from the Council of Scholars, and since Equality is the only person who knows about electricity, it means he now knows more than the Council of Scholars. Now, the Council of Scholars hold a meeting once a year where the other scholars from all over the world get together and convene. This year, the meeting will be held in Equality's city. Equality, experimenting further with the electricity, gets a light bulb in the abandoned railway tunnel to work.
Brother.
He wants to present this at the World Council of Scholars meeting and get a seat amongst them, basically to be reassigned from being a street sweeper. However, Equality is out past curfew and is late reporting back at the home of street sweepers. That is the place that he now lives. He refuses to say where he's been, and because of this, is transported to the Palace of Correction, where he's tied to a post and beaten and whipped until he passes out. Sounds like a good time to me, honestly.
Shut the fuck up. No, it doesn't.
I pay good money for that abuse. When he wakes up in his cell...
You pay for your wife?
Originally. When he wakes up in his cell, he just walks out the front door of the Palace of Correction because there aren't any guards. Because you see, no one has ever attempted escape before, so that's just a thing that wouldn't happen. There's just no fucking doors on these cells. They're like, stay here, and they're like, alright. So, but him being too fucking smart, he just walks out. Take guess.
Because he's just, no one else has thought to think for themselves.
Damn it, he's just too brave.
Dude, her metaphors are so bad.
The next day, Equality arrives at the World Council of Scholars meeting, where he's chastised for interrupting them by Collective 0-0009, the oldest and wisest of the scholars. But Equality, with an electric box hooked up to a light bulb, shows them his invention. When he switches the light on, the scholars huddle together, frightened. They tell him that the things not achieved collectively are no good, and what isn't known by all isn't true. Collective tells Equality that they cannot accept the light bulb, for it would ruin the Department of Candles, which was only just established. The scholars want the light bulb destroyed, so Equality runs away to the uncharted forest, awaiting his death by wild animals. That's just kind of, it's pretty quick. Equality wakes up in the forest, feeling for the first time that he is truly free. He fashions a makeshift weapon from a rock and hunts a bird, killing it on the first try because he's just the perfect fucking man. Just first time hucking a fucking rock at a creature
he's not
never
equal.
Seen before.
He's the perfect man. He's above other men. He's just got a rock.
Call me inequality.
Oh no.
It's gonna go places.
It did.
When he washes himself in a stream, it's here that he sees his reflection for the first time in his life. He sees that he looks nothing like his brothers, for he is too tall and strong and sexy. The next... Seriously, she fucking Edward Collins this fucking guy just right into the
I
fucking...
saw my reflection of the pond and just started pulling my dick. Just pulling it right off.
It was here I found out I did not have 3 legs. The next day, Equality sees Liberty, the golden one, tattered and bruised in the forest. She had heard the tales of what happened at the World Council of Scholars meeting, and she has gone into the uncharted forest alone to search for Equality. It's here that the Golden One pledges her love and subservience to Equality, the unconquered.
Whoa. Subservient?
This is going to be a theme with her. Just women being real second class. Anyway, they kiss for a bit and don't know why, and then why not? They fuck. So, anyways.
Is this going to be like if the Twilight lady wrote capitalist propaganda?
Yeah. It's here that Equality...
Oh.
It's here that Equality writes about the true meaning of happiness and how everything... How can everything that feels so right be so wrong, you know? Just... With Liberty in tow, literally being nothing more than a fleshlight on legs to him, they build a quaint little life.
Brother.
I promise you, the fucking words that come out of this bitch's mouth is nothing more than just what do you need? Oh God, is my ass not big enough? Shall I suck it?
I'm pretty sure it wasn't fleshlight on stilts though, or
it
whatever
fucking
you said.
was.
So
she is okay. This is. All of Ayn Rand's women characters are just fucking meant to be used. And I promise you, look, this is story 2, all right? We're going to get into her other 2, and they will be.
Worse?
Yes! She gets much, much worse. Right now she's poor, and nobody should be listening to her, and unfortunately they are. So the only issue is that they have, besides any character development, they can't quite learn to express their love. There's a word missing. Something feels wrong when they say, we love you. but they can't quite put their finger on it.
Oh, God, that's so fucking stupid.
Several days of walking through the wilderness later, they come upon a mountain with a house on top. Just accept it. It's in this house they discover colors other than white, brown, and gray. There was also never an indication that this was an issue up until this point, by the way. They just fucking throw it out there like, oh, you've only seen 3 colors before. I did not know that. They find more light bulbs and mirrors and a shitload of books. Liberty looks at clothes and can't tear herself away from the mirror because she's a woman, written by Ayn Rand. Equality, seriously, equality, no shit, tells Liberty that they'll live in the house, and she tells him, thy will be done.
Alright, fucking God.
Exactly. He is now God. He is a man, and he's got a dick, and he is Lord.
Dude, I don't know, man. I mean, clearly she's got some fetish shit that she's into.
Yeah.
And you know what, man? Maybe if she was around now and there was like more access to a community that would let her get that out in a healthy way, this wouldn't have happened.
Well, probably, honestly.
And just keeping that in the bedroom.
Because I'll tell you,
like,
the GOP is not outwardly about cuckolding. I'm sure they are, like, in the sheets, but they don't say it out loud.
They're pretty outwardly about sucking cock and glory all the time.
But I will say, she's pretty outwardly into cuckolding. We'll get into it.
Oh.
We're going to talk about her sex life.
Great. Stoked about this.
Equality spends all night reading and rediscovers the word I. He also probably got his hands on Bullfinch's mythology because he announces to Liberty that they're going to change their names. Equality has renamed himself Prometheus. And Liberty will now be Gaia. Which I have to imagine they've never heard somebody say it before, so him reading it out like, I have come up with the best name.
I just vibed it.
I am now Prometheus. Like,
Prometheus.
And you will be and like a good obedient female, Liberty just nods. From here.
Is that literally how it's written, or did you?
Dude, I'm so angry. Yeah,
no?
A little bit. I'm just really angry at how she's like, yeah, I'm a woman and I should be used. Like, that's how Ayn Rand sees herself, and she writes it to every fucking character, and I just hate it so much. Thy will be done. I should have had Nicole say that during our fucking vows. Just like, I read her something beautiful, and she just goes, hey, thy will be done.
Like, yeah, but that's the variable there, is that if you were like, hey, I need you to, she would have been like, what?
I need you to what?
I need you to what? I'm not doing anything you say. Like, what are you fucking like? You're like, no, I have these written here. Eat a dick.
Like, yeah. Well, from here, Prometheus decides he's going to make a kid that's taller and stronger and has more of a tortured soul than anyone else. Prometheus concludes that society will never bow down to collectivism, ever again, because his commune will be united and under the most important word ever, ego. Now let's talk a bit about the symbolism of Anthem.
Do we need to?
It is there.
I mean, it's very, like...
Ayn Rand came from a Jewish family, but she quickly established herself as an atheist. She still grew up with tales of Jesus, and it's in Anthem that she supplants some of these tales on equality as a Christ-like figure, very obviously. Not just his martyrdom when he's being beaten at the Palace of Corrections, which drew a lot of parallels to crucifixion, but also earlier on in the novel when Equality is speaking to Liberty for, I think, the first time, he becomes thirsty, so Liberty goes and scoops up some water from somewhere and feeds it to Equality with her hands. That's a thing Christians would do for Jesus when he was on his pilgrimage. Also, the whole bit with the uncharted forest with Equality and Liberty is just, it's Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Anyway, although Ayn Rand hadn't coined her philosophy on objectivism quite yet, the fact that Equality finds giving the idea of the light bulb to the rest of humanity and being scorned for it, so he decides to keep the invention for himself, is all right there. We're not going to get into objectivism just yet, but Anthem has all the key factors in it. Now, dystopian literature was not all that common before a novel called We, by Eugene Zamyatin, made the scene in 1920. The book created a lot of firsts for the dystopian genre, and a lot of similarities are in Anthem. The story taking the perspective of a found journal, people are given serial numbers for names, being forced to be part of the collective instead of being your own person. When the novel We came out, it influenced everybody. It just depended on whether or not you were willing to admit it. George Orwell said, yeah, of course we inspired 1984, just like it inspired Brave New World for Aldous Huxley. Meanwhile, Aldous Huxley was just like, no, and never admitted it, even though it was very clearly true. Ayn Rand was in this same wheelhouse. To her, Anthem was all her idea, despite the clear influences. This was kind of like when Suzanne Collins wrote Hunger Games. People were into it. Granted, it's a young adult novel, and it's about being brave and and just being out there and everything. But it was very clearly, like, to some degree, based from Kushin Takami's Battle Royale, which was you've seen the movie. It's a book. It's a fantastic book. It's the only book that person's ever written, by the way. And it actually
Do you need to write another one?
Dude, no, I only do dead authors. Now, no joke though, that book for a while was my favorite book. Not because it's just a weird weeb novel.
The book is just called Battle Royale?
Yeah. Dude, it is actually very fucking good. It's a fantastic book. It's really good.
I thought it was just the movie, because obviously it's a movie premise.
Movies that good are always only based on A, a true story, or B, a book. Okay? A movie is fucking fantastic. And so, of course it was based on a book. But yeah, it's a very good book. And of course everyone knows Battle Royale, and so did Suzanne Collins, but she was just like, Hunger Games is just, it's all, don't worry about it, I made it up completely. And it's like, really? The fact that, like, the map gets smaller and the, like, blaring, like, announcement that somebody's died and, like, literally every rule. Like, it's fine. You did make it your own thing, but just tell people that you were influenced. It's fine. You know,
you have interesting characters here.
Yeah,
it's fine. You're making your own plot of it, but that base
it's good in
premise,
its own right.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. The first time you get called a weeb, it's devastating. I understand. But look, you're gonna be okay, honey. You know?
Do you build a tolerance? I'd have to ask you.
Oh yeah, it's just a thing now, you know.
Yeah.
I get it, you know. I cry later. Now, originally, Rand wanted to publish Anthem as a magazine serial. But her publisher was like, no, this is great. Go get it published as a novel instead. So she went to Macmillan Publishers, who did We the Living for her, and Castle, the publishing company who printed We the Living in Europe.
They're like, yeah, let's let this bomb again.
Yeah, exactly. Castle agreed to publish Anthem, but Macmillan didn't. They said Ayn Rand didn't understand socialism. So she tried to get the story serialized in a magazine, but they didn't like it either. So overall, Rand's break from writing The Fountainhead, if you'll remember, that was the thing with Skyscraper when she wanted to be a fucking screenwriter back in the day. Basically, it was
Brother, you're drawn pretty deep on
it. Okay, all right. Basically, when she first came to America, this was the book that she first started on, but it's not the one that she finished first. She did We the Living first, and then Anthem, and now she's like kind of getting back to The Fountainhead. So, I mean, her whole break between all that time thus far has been writing 2 failed novels and a failed play. She continued on this path by campaigning for a presidential nominee named Wendell Willkie, who was going up against FDR. It's during this campaign that Rand would meet a lot of her libertarian friends. One of them called Rand the most courageous man in America.
Just fucking Uncle's Club.
I love that they just called her a courageous man, though. You know, like, clearly no idea who the fuck she is.
We're making you an honorary mustachioed uncle.
Well, she actually took it as a compliment because to call her a woman would be a bad thing. Finally, yeah, see?
Okay, well, she's not, she doesn't even stop for a second. She's like, yeah, that's right, I'm not a woman.
I'm just one of the guys.
I'm not a filthy, rightless woman.
I'm just into farting and football and Subarus and, no, wait. I don't know. I'm losing my identity.
Subarus?
Is that a woman thing or a guy thing? I don't know.
That's just an Oregon thing. That's not an any gender thing. I'm pretty sure, like, anybody outside of here, they're not as popular.
Yeah. So, let's see. Finally, after 7 years from starting it, Ayn Rand completed her 3rd novel, The Fountainhead. It starts like this.
Can't wait.
Oh, boy. Howard Rourke laughed. He stood naked at the edge of a cliff. The lake lay far below him. If you're gonna be a man character in an Ayn Rand novel, you're gonna be as manly as you fucking can, alright?
Go on.
A frozen explosion of granite burst in flight to the sky over motionless water. The water seemed immovable, the stone flowing. The stone had the stillness of one brief moment in battle, when thrust meets thrust. Don't look at me. And the currents are held in a pause more dynamic than motion. The stone glowed wet with sun rays. Don't look at me.
Is he still laughing?
It's just the entire time, minutes at a time, just full erect on top of a fucking cliff.
Love it, dude.
Howard Rourke is a young architecture student recently expelled from the Stanton Institute of Technology for making building designs that are just too modern and brave.
Just too modern and brave. Sir, that looks like a giant erect penis. It's too modern.
What's wrong with it? Fuck. All right. Hang on a second.
Collect yourself.
Yeah.
Breathe.
To show you how complex Howard Rourke is, Ayn Rand opens the fountainhead to Howard standing naked on top of a cliff deep in thought. When Howard goes back home to his boarding house, he's reminded by his landlady, Mrs. Keating, that he's got an appeal with the dean of the institute to overturn his expulsion that day. Mrs. Keating is the mother of Howard's friend and classmate, Peter Keating. It's at the appeal of his expulsion that the dean tells Howard that he's welcome back at school so long as he stops acting so childish, making his architecture just so goddamn brave. But Howard just says, "No, I don't think I will," and leaves the dean's office with the dean yelling after him that he'll never be successful. It's later at the Institute's graduation ceremony that we see Howard's classmate, friend, and Mrs. Keating and the landlady's son, Peter Keating, getting awards and recognition for his work. He was always second best to Howard, not to mention he was only ever that successful in the first place because he always relied on Howard's help. But with Howard out of the way, he's number one. It's after the ceremony that he's approached by none other by Guy Francoeur, who is the president of the greatest architecture firm this side of New York, Francoeur and Hire. He offers Peter a job, but Peter wants to play it cool, not seem too eager, tell him he'll think on it. But in reality, he runs to Howard's place to get the opinion of both Howard and his mother. Howard just tells him to be a man and make his own decisions, but his mom secretly wants Peter to be as successful as he can, so she can kind of reap the benefits.
Secretly? The fuck kind of mom is this?
She wants to secretly reap the benefits. Think what Dick Cheney was to George Bush. And of course, she tells him to take that job at Francoeur and Hire. So while Peter goes to New York to play office politics, Howard Rourke goes into the office of his favorite architect, the disgraced, alcoholic, has-been, Henry Cameron. Cameron tells Rourke, "Get out of here, your work is too foolhardy and brave." And Rourke says no, he doesn't care. And Cameron says, "I can only pay you in peanuts, kid," but Rourke still doesn't care. And Cameron tells him, "I'll work you day and night," but still, Rourke cares not. And Cameron sees that Rourke is so stoic and brave that he gets the job as a draftsman. So anyways, it's now 2 years later, and Peter Keating has eliminated all of his political rivals at Francoeur and Hire. He's dating a pretty girl named Katie, who he doesn't love, but she does mention that her uncle is big deal. She's just a woman in a Rand novel, after all.
I don't know, maybe she sucks. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever. She's a woman, But she does mention that her uncle is the famous architect critic Ellsworth Toohey. Peter, knowing he could easily manipulate Katie into having her uncle write good reviews for anything Peter makes, surprisingly tells Katie to never introduce him to her uncle. He just doesn't want to be that guy, I guess. Well, Peter is at this point chief designer at the firm. On his own. That's right, god damn it.
Like a true capitalist.
Like a true brave man, yeah.
Exactly.
So, Peter is at this point chief designer at the firm and has been given his first commission. He works and works, but nothing seems to be coming out quite right. So he takes the project over to his old friend Howard Rourke, who manages to finish the project for his old pal, and Peter, of course, just enters the work as his own. No collaborators. A year later, Henry Cameron, Rourke's boss, the disgraced alcoholic guy, collapses in his office, no big surprise there, and is carted back to New Jersey for recovery. Cameron tells Rourke to permanently close the office and burn all the files, which he does. Meanwhile, Peter is living lavishly in his New York apartment with his mother, who keeps pushing him to go higher. But Peter's like, I'm already chief architect, what more do you want? She tells him to stop wasting time with Katie and start shacking up with Guy Francon's daughter. Peter's such a pussy, he actually asks Francon to introduce him, but he just kind of looks at Peter and goes, no. It's after
because I got rejected, Mom.
It's after this feeling of betrayal towards Katie that Peter feels he needs to make it up to her. So he just asks her to marry him. She says yes, but even then Peter...
That's always a good...
Yeah,
just a good start on a proposal. Hey, I just really need to make something up to you. I mean, why don't I propose? That's good, right?
Yeah, so she says yes, and Peter's like, great, no, keep it a secret.
Oh, fuck.
It's always a great, just...
yeah, we're married, but shh.
If my wife finds out about this, she's going to be so pissed at you.
Your wife? Yes, my wife.
So later, Peter sees Howard's living conditions and, knowing he's fallen on some hard times, gets Francon to hire him at the firm. Howard says he'll do it on the condition that he doesn't design anything, oddly enough. Somehow they agree to this, which is weird because he's supposed to be an architect, but he earns his paycheck during the day by doing a bunch of menial shit and secretly helping Peter fix his shitty designs by night. One day, Guy Francon asks Rourke to make a design for a building based off of one of his old boss Henry Cameron's earlier works, but more Greco-Roman. Rourke looks over the details and says, no, it would be better if it were modern instead. Francon, having never been told no before, fires Rourke on the spot. You remember the architecture critic Ellsworth Toohey, Katie's uncle?
Yes.
He just showed up for a second there. He was like, never ever introduce me to your uncle, because I'm going to make it on my own. That's what Peter was telling Katie. Well, there's
but then, yeah.
Yeah. But he's, as I'm sure you may find out, kind of a pussy, so, Well, there's a bunch of building trade unions going on strike for higher wages, and a newspaper called The Banner is on the front lines of the issue, getting them all riled up. When these union guys gather together to stage a protest, all it takes is one brave speech from Ellsworth Toohey to calm the crowd and get them back to work.
Oh,
that's
really?
That's the kind of power this guy has. Yeah, I would like to see him do that against some actual union guys.
Right?
I'm in a union, and for me to tell something about my union, maybe... I'm sorry, you had... what was that? A thought? No, you see, the collective has already decided. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, you're going in that direction with it.
No, my union treats me very well, actually.
Fuck, I wish I was in the union job.
Burgerville's hiring.
I mean, that's kind of... you can't...
Now, Howard Rourke gets a job at an architecture firm run by a guy named Snite. But honestly, it's not important because when the firm is hired to design a guy's house, Rourke gives his design to the firm. They give the homeowner an altered version of Rourke's design, and the guy says it's close but not quite what he's looking for. When Howard steps forward with the original plans, everyone is so shocked at how brave he is that he's fired on the spot. But the homeowner loves the design.
Theme here with bravery.
Yeah, all of our characters are... Hey, did we talk about what a Mary Sue is?
We did. We did.
The homeowner loves the design and hires Rourke privately. And it's with this money that Rourke opens his own office. Unfortunately, he rarely takes clients because clients have demands, and he refuses to compromise his vision. I feel like he doesn't fucking know how things actually work. Hey, we want to make a movie. It's supposed to be a rom-com. No, I'll tell you what I'm going to make. It's going to be an alien war drama. Damn it, he's got us.
Very well. A little more. The people funding him have us.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Guy Francon's daughter, Dominique, is sent by the newspaper, The Banner, to investigate what is likely what it's like to live inside the inner city slums. She's there for 2 weeks before she writes a scathing review that blames the rich slum owners.
I don't like the inner city slums.
Who would have guessed?
Oh my god, really?
Rich girl, what do you have to think? Like, she blames the rich slum owners for letting people live like this, and she also blames the tenants for allowing themselves to live like this.
Allowing themselves.
Yep. Also going to be a theme with Ayn Rand.
Yeah.
It's such a fierce and brave article that Peter Keating reads it and immediately just gets fucking hard as a goddamn diamond cutter. He makes another request for Guy Francon to set up a meeting, and this time he agrees. I don't know what changed his goddamn mind. Peter and Dominique actually met once before at like an office party, but Dominique pretty much just called Peter a nerd and left. But this meeting goes only a little better, but she still wants nothing to do with him. Doesn't stop Peter from falling in love, though. And just to show you how much of a wet cock Peter is, Katie tells Peter...
Much of a wet cock?
Oh, yeah. Just, you know, a wet cock.
You mean wet towel, but you just added in cock just to be...
Is that
nasty?
the term?
Yeah, it's wet towel. Just be kind of a... Yeah, you know, like a wet towel.
Huh.
Yeah. Have you been saying just wet cock in place of wet towel for...
Fucking hope not. Well...
Proceed.
Katie tells Peter that he needs to nut up or shut up about getting married and says they should get married tomorrow. Peter's like, okay. But when Katie leaves the apartment, Peter's mom's like, no, don't marry her, marry Dominique. So Peter just fucking cancels the wedding with Katie. Henry Cameron starts dying back in Jersey, and when Rourke goes to make his final visit, Cameron tells Howard to never compromise, only do what you want to do. There's this big contest coming up where a movie company wants a skyscraper built, and they'll hire whoever has the best design. So, of course, Francon wants his chief architect, Peter, to do it. And, of course, Peter enters one that Rourke primarily designs. Peter tells Katie that if he wins, he'll probably make partner, and then they can get married. But then he secretly meets up with Dominique and says that they should get married instead. She says she'll marry him if she ever wants to punish herself.
Nice.
Those should have been her vows. God damn it. So it's at this point that Peter gets a little murdery here, and basically what he wants to do is force hire of Francon and Hire, like the firm that he works. He wants to force Hire, who's basically just been in the shadows and doesn't like do much anymore because of his age, into retirement. His thought process is that Hire is old and ill, and he's probably going to die soon anyway. If Peter wins that contest while the spot for partner is open, it'll be an obvious choice, but if he loses, he'll choose someone else. If the spot is open before the contest ends, Keating would still be the current obvious choice, since he's currently as popular as he can be within the firm. Does that make sense? Basically,
Yes.
basically right now there are two partners at the firm. If Peter wins the contest while there's still two partners, then it's like, hey, great job, kid. Like, you know, get back to work. And then, like, when the partner who's old and ill dies, it'll be like, now who should we have for a partner? And it's like, depending on how much time has passed, his popularity from winning that contest may have blown over completely. But if the spot is open while he wins that contest, then Guy Francon is going to be like, motherfucker, there he is, you know? So he's pretty sure that this is going to be the best way to do it. So Peter goes to Hire's place, and he reveals that he knows he's been skimming a little extra money off the top. Wants to blackmail Hire into an early retirement, you know? Well, the revelation that someone has found him out after all these years freaks Hire out, gives him a stroke, and he fucking dies.
Wow, that's just... I have an idea. Let's write in.
Peter then finds out that Hire didn't even have anyone in his life and was just going to leave everything to Peter anyway. And also Peter won the contest. Peter quickly runs to Howard, not to tell anyone that he helped with the prize-winning design, like bribing him $500, like just don't tell anyone that you helped me, you know. But Rourke returns the money in a reverse bribe to tell like Peter to like I didn't have anything to do with it. Like I'll pay you $500 just to tell somebody like that I had nothing to do with the shitty fucking design. Peter walks out of Rourke's office promising his downfall for this insult, which happens pretty much immediately afterwards anyway, because a client comes in wanting Howard Rourke to compromise his vision, which he doesn't do, so now he has no customers and has to close up shop. So, with nowhere to go, Howard asks his buddy for a job, and he gets one in a rock quarry. quarry owned by Guy Francoeur.
Nice.
Yeah.
You ever been to a rock quarry?
Yeah, I went to a fire
Oh
jam
my
there.
God.
It was, yeah.
No, I mean just like as
Like as a worker?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck no.
It's amazing.
What, breaking rocks?
Yes.
Breaking rocks and sucking cocks.
No.
What?
Fucking breaking rocks, sucking cocks, driving big machines, lifting big things with other big things. It's a whole. You never. Yeah.
You seem surprised that I never went into the rock quarry work.
No. It doesn't like.
I figured
look awesome
straight
to
out
you,
of
like-
strip mining that you'd be going straight into this.
No, man,
Like-
I'm just saying, like, in anything large enough for you to require a CDL to operate that's not a truck, that's something on tracks with, like, big grapples and hooks or
It sounds
shovels
cool,
or things like that.
But to be fair, I feel like
man,
I'm
it's
going
so
to
much fucking fun.
I feel like I'm going to accidentally kill somebody with it.
Well, yeah, that's the fun.
Well, it turns out Guy Francoeur's daughter Dominique lives just a few miles from the quarry. And while doing a routine inspection of basically just getting horny from watching men labor, like she does this on a daily basis, just like fucking goes out there, watches men work, goes back home, and just fucking plays three-knuckle DJ. And one day she sees Howard Rourke, and when their eyes meet, she knows he's no regular worker. This is a man of ownership, a man who can slap some fucking chaps on and ride a bike, if you catch my drift.
This is a man who was born into some money behind the labor.
This is a mustache man.
Oh, if only it worked like that. We'd be swimming in it.
So Dominique starts a routine of going to the quarry and just watching Rourke hurt. Just like watching him pull muscle and shit. Just real S&M shit.
Watching him pull muscle? That's
yeah,
no.
She's into it. And one day Dominique makes up some excuse where she fucks up her own fireplace and demands that Rourke fix it. So, like, but she still seems like she wants something else. Like he's over there and, she's all demanding and shit. And so he rapes her.
Oh.
The hero of our story. But it's okay because she likes it.
Oh. I mean, that's not... It's still... I don't...
Quote,
I don't
he
wanna
was like
talk
a
about
monster
this right
taking
now.
shameful, contemptuous passion of her like a slave.
Jesus, how do we even begin to dissect that?
And then Rourke just leaves.
Once again, back to where if there was just a healthy fetish scene that she could just get this out of her system with consent and talk ahead of time. But no, here we are.
Yeah, we're here. And because I had to be there, you have to fucking be there too.
Did you have to?
Yeah.
Did you have to?
Dude, it's kind of a big fucking deal, I feel like. It's a few paragraphs of raping. And it's like...
Wait, it's paragraphs? I mean,
yeah, because she turns it into a fucking sex scene.
Well, then I will thank you for... bringing that down to a couple sentences.
End of the day, that's what happened. I'm not going to talk to you more about the...
No, it's not what happened. It's what she wrote.
The slave shit that she got... Yeah, I know.
God damn.
I know. So, unfortunately for Dominique, I guess, Rourke gets a job back in New York and leaves. Like, she's smitten. Meanwhile...
Man.
Yeah.
You're writing. God.
Meanwhile, there's an enraged sculptor by the name of Stephen Mallory who has attempted to assassinate the great architecture columnist Ellsworth Toohey. Against his earlier promises to himself, Peter Keating wishes to see Toohey. Turns out this is perfect timing because Toohey is starting a collective of like-minded individuals called the Council of American Builders, and they want Peter to be chairman. Peter, now thinking he's hot dick, sees Dominique at the first meeting and afterwards tries to kiss her. She's still repulsed by him. He asks her why. She tells him about the mystery man from the rock quarry. Because, yeah, that's the kind of tinge that she puts it on, just not like, I was assaulted.
Well, no, it's a weird thing.
It's a fetishy thing.
Isn't it because, like, in her fucking head...
Who, Ayn Rand's?
Yeah. That's, like, their place. Isn't that where she's... coming at this from, like that's a woman's fucking place in her fucked up ass head. Yeah, basically.
So, I mean, well, she's you've seen those YouTube videos of like the girl that acts like a dog and she's like sniffing at people at the fucking mall and shit, and it's like, look, if that's your thing, that's fine.
No.
Oh, really?
So
she is hot, but she's also
Jordan's into.
She's being paid 6 figures a month to do that shit.
I mean,
I'm gonna say I'll sniff at people all fucking day long.
Okay.
But my point.
No.
What?
Stop right there. No. The woman that is being paid 6 figures a month is at the top tier.
Yeah.
For the sniffing the dog. That means there's a bunch of other women underneath her that are not making that are competing.
And here's the thing, though. I'm willing to pay. Like, I'm willing to sell my integrity.
You're willing to pay 6 figures a month to have a woman in the mall?
No, I'm sorry. I'm willing to receive 6 figures.
Okay.
In order to ruin my integrity. What I'm saying, though, the whole point of this, though,
I'm Jordan the man pig, and I will dress in tidy whities and crawl around on all fours on a leash in a mall for 6 figures a month and sniff your feet.
I'm Jordan the dirt boy. Dirt boy comes from the dirt.
No, man pig. We're sticking with that.
I can't sniff out truffles for shit. My point, though, is that girl right there and whoever the fucking guy is filming, they are putting their kink out there for everyone else to participate in with nobody else's consent. Like... And
yeah.
That's the point I'm trying to make. No. Ayn Rand putting this shit into a book, granted, you ought to know what you're getting into when you're reading a fucking Ayn Rand
would you
novel.
At the time, like...
At the time, though, right, this is a shock to everyone. It's like, what the fuck did I just read? Like, why did she go there? Why was that it? Why did it have to be rape?
I mean...
Like, it didn't need to be.
I mean, the part that makes it even more fucked up is that I'm sure it was, like, even more easily just kind of threaded in at the time.
Yeah, it's like, but it didn't need to be.
And I mean, what's up with the other writing at the time? I bet you it was just as fucking shitty when it came to things like that. I bet you they were just...
What are you talking about? She's a contemporary of, like, Hemingway and, like, all these great fucking writers. Like,
I don't know, but I mean,
she's just bad at it. Like, I don't know.
No, I mean, she sucks, but I mean, as far as how problematic things are at the time, do you really think anybody was going to raise a goddamn eyebrow?
I want to say this came out around the same time as Lolita, and Lolita's a lot better.
Did that raise an eyebrow?
Did that raise an eyebrow?
At the time?
Yeah!
Okay, so everybody's focusing on Lolita.
Okay,
While
fair.
over here, we have some, like...
we have a book that's 10 times longer
problematic, rape scenarios here. So what one are we more concerned about right now?
Fair.
And also, there's no internet, so I can't expend this much energy. It's just whatever the hell came across a printing press.
That's fair. Okay, yeah, I get it. I get it. All right, so anyways, later at some fancy pants party, Dominique and Rourke meet once again. Rourke's New York job went smoothly, and he was able to reopen his office. They talk as if they've never met or raped anyone before. Dominique says...
You're just going to drop that and move on?
Dominique says that she wants Howard, but she hates him because her desire for him is so strong. She wants to test his strength by trying to destroy him, and he's into it. So yeah, they've got some weird little...
Yeah, dude.
Everyone is Ayn Rand with either a mustache or in a skirt. So now, Howard Rourke continues to find work amongst clients who are brave, like him. A lot of characters that talk with no emotion and are also probably rapists. Anyway, Howard gets commissioned to build a temple. The thing is, his client is actually from the Council of American Builders, like the Ellsworth Toohey guy. And he's hiring Rourke because Ellsworth Toohey told him to. The game plan, I guess, is to have Rourke build the temple so Toohey can bitch about it in the newspaper, the Banner, for no other reason than just the fact that the Fountainhead doesn't have a villain yet, I guess. Either way, Rourke agrees to build the temple, and he hires Stephen Mallory, the guy who fucking shot Ellsworth Toohey in a would-be assassination attempt, to make a statue for the front. Because, again, he recognizes Mallory as being a man who's brave with no compromises, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, he suggests that Mallory use Dominique for the model of his statue. Partway through the completion of the temple, the client stops all production on the building and sues Howard Rourke for his work because it's just too goddamn brave of a design. The whole trial has multiple architects that testify against Rourke's untraditional design, including his friend Peter Keating and Dominique herself, and in Rourke's defense, he says nothing, but gives the judge 10 photographs of the temple and walks away. Which isn't how a fucking trial works, by the way. He'd be arrested on the spot for fucking leaving a trial. And these photographs don't even come up again in any meaningful way later in the book. I figured it would be like a gotcha moment at the end. I fucking thought it would, but they don't. So I don't know what it's supposed to mean. Anyways, Peter Keating feels wrong for...
you either.
Yeah, I guess just like, you be the judge. Like, I don't know. It's just... It's
Can
weird.
you picture what? I mean, yeah, it would have been mind blowing if that would have been a thing. Like, just picture it. All right, I'm moving along. Like,
just picture it. Literally, there are pictures of it because it's a thing that I built and it exists. Like, we can go on a tour, but just picture it.
Picture that I had pictures.
Picture in your head these head pictures that I have pictured in front of you. Peter Keating feels so wrong for his betrayal to his friend, and he hurriedly tells Katie that they'll elope the next day. But that night, Dominique asks Peter to marry her, which they quickly do that night. She wants to punish herself because she refuses to live in a world that won't appreciate Rourke. Later that night, Dominique goes to Rourke and tells him the news. They tell one another they love each other, and they respect each other's bravery. Rourke goes to reminisce about the old temple and sees that it's been completed as a home for subnormal children. Ellsworth Toohey emerges and asks Rourke, "What do you think of me now?" And Rourke just basically says, like, "Who are you?" Like, they've never met. Like, he's just like,
what
"Why?
do you think of me now, you son of a bitch?
It's like, who are you? Why did you do this?
Stop!
You're being rude. Gail Wyand. I hate to add another character in here, but here we go. Gail Wyand, the owner of the Banner, the newspaper, wants to make a real estate property and call it Stone Ridge. Ellsworth Toohey wants him to use Peter.
Murph, dude, there's too much shit going on. It's not just because I'm drunk. I feel like anybody. No.
It is always this way with her fucking shit.
God
okay.
damn, no,
We're
it's
getting
not
to
just
the
because
end
I'm
here.
drunk. Anybody else who's listening is also completely lost. There's no fucking
As we
way.
all are. This is the reason that the book has to be spread out over fucking 1,200
Why do we
pages.
have to, like, Jesus, everybody doing this is like, Ayn Rand, yeah, no, she sucks. Why do we need this in long format demonstration? We're not even halfway done, are we?
No, but it's funny. Actually, yeah, we are. But this will be a night that we do a two-parter.
Yeah, no, I know.
Much
because there's not even just this. There's 2 stacks of Ayn Rand sucking.
Yeah.
However the fuck
We're
you
gonna
say
get
her
into
name.
it.
Like,
it's Ayn, actually.
Ayn?
Ayn Rand. Yeah.
All right.
Now, Gail Wyand, owner of the Banner, wants to make a real estate property and call it Stone Ridge. Ellsworth Toohey wants him to use Peter Keating. He sends Dominique to, quote-unquote, negotiate, basically prostituting her to let her husband build Stone Ridge. However, turns out Gail Wyand and Dominique really click on an emotional level. I guess they're both fucking sociopaths. Wyand knows she's married, but he proposes to her anyway. When she remembers how shitty the Banner treated Rourke during his trial, she says yes, because again, punishment. Gail Wyand gives Peter the Stone Ridge contract and an additional $250,000 if he can keep Dominique. Because this is an Ayn Rand novel and women are property. Peter agrees. Gail Wyand goes on to want a house built for the newlyweds. He chooses Howard Rourke for its design, even though his newspaper, The Banner, has ridiculed Rourke in the past. Turns out, Gail never even reads his own newspaper. He has no idea about any of this. Finding out about the articles about Rourke, and he sees that they're all written by Ellsworth Toohey, he commands him to never write about Rourke again. Now, there's a new project to design a building, but there's too many restrictions on what can or can't be done. Toohey doesn't think Peter can do it. He's starting to lose faith in him. But Peter says he can do it, just give him a chance. So like usual, he runs to Howard for help, and Howard agrees. When the blueprints are done, Peter runs to Ellsworth with the designs. Toohey calls him a genius, although he knows he didn't really design it. He's a fucking idiot. There's no way he did this. Later, Gail Wyand and Howard Rourke talk about how much they hate people who are quote-unquote selfless, calling them second-handers. People who give some of the wealth they don't need so other people can survive. Blah! When Rourke returns to New York, he sees the building he designed for Peter has been altered. I guess this was the straw that broke the Timothy McVeigh's back, because that night, Rourke tells Dominique to pretend to run out of gas in front of the building and get the night watchman to fetch her some gas at the nearest gas station about a mile away. She does exactly this, and after a while, she gets out of her car and looks at the empty building. Then it explodes and a huge chunk of machinery crushes her car. Not wanting to be a victim, Dominique crawls into the front seat and starts slashing herself with a piece of glass. When the cops arrive, she's almost dead. Like,
I'm not following the logic.
So, I don't get the logic either. Miraculously, she was not killed in this explosion that crushed her fucking car. She was just getting out and having a smoke and looking at the
characters
building.
in a book here, right?
Yeah, okay. But a fucking thing smashes her car, and she's like, "Oh, I better pretend like I was in this, otherwise it might be suspicious." Like, why? Like, your car ran out of gas.
Well, I'm understanding it, and look, dude, honestly, if you're not getting that, I'm not going to bother explaining it to you. Go on.
Rourke is, of course, arrested, and his bail is paid by Gail Wyand. And afterwards, Rourke goes to see Dominique, telling her that if he's found guilty, she should stay with Gail, where it's safe. But if he's acquitted, she should stay with him. She's just got a real fucking pick of the litter here. Toohey visits Peter and tells him he knows Rourke designed the building, and he should admit it so it somehow hurts Rourke. Peter asks Toohey why he's so evil, and he says he gains power over men by making them join a cult of selflessness. That exact thing that Gail and Howard were talking about, so that's bad. Yeah, he wants everyone to look out for one another and not be fucking, self-sustaining, and that's bad. Like,
yeah, because it's totally feasible for you to do absolutely everything by yourself without a community. Yeah.
So he gives this monologue, and then as he walks away, he starts laughing like an old villain. Seriously, like he just and it's like none of that was funny. Like
after my community garden. What the fuck?
Like, the Banner is the only newspaper to be pro-Rourke, and eventually there's a strike, nearly destroying the Banner financially until Gail Wyand reverses his stance in the paper. Because Gail is no longer brave and a man of ideals, Dominique runs to sleep with Rourke. The next morning she fakes a ring going missing, so the police have to search Rourke's place while she just fucking stands around in his pajamas. The whole world now knows Dominique and Rourke are fucking, so Gail divorces Dominique and says the only reason the Banner was ever pro-Rourke was because Dominique wanted to protect her lover. You see, she fucked Howard, so the Banner's reputation could be saved. So that makes her a good person. The next chapter is about Howard Rourke's trial, and I am not going to go into it, because while it's a good opportunity for some courtroom drama, like all things Ayn Rand, it becomes just another chapter in a sea of missed opportunities. All you need to know is that Rourke has the world stacked against him, and in one speech, talking about the evils of second-handers, and how creators like him should be gods, he's found not guilty. This should go on longer than it does to make it realistic, but in just 13 pages of a court case, Howard Rourke manages to shift the views of the entire jury. Maybe I should count myself lucky that it was so short. I don't know. Well, anyway, 18 months later, Gail Wyand has closed the Banner, putting Ellsworth Toohey out of a job. Gail begins construction of the Wyand building, with Howard as its architect. A building that will be a monument to the spirit of man. When Dominique goes to visit Howard, she sees him standing triumphantly at the top of the unfinished building. I don't think he's naked, but they don't say.
He's super sick.
Quote, she saw him standing above her on the top platform of the Wyand building.
Naked as fuck. Mustached. Fully erect.
He waved to her. The line of the ocean cut the sky. The ocean mounted as the city descended.
Ooh. Christ.
And then he raped the city. No.
She what the fuck?
I'm sorry.
Dude, why did you have to make it more
because
messed
it's
up?
Still shocking to me. I'm sorry.
No, why is it shocking to you? Why is it shocking? Why did you have to make it more fucked up than what she actually wrote, which what we're going over is not good?
She passed the pinnacles of bank buildings. She passed the crowns of courthouses. She rose above the spires of churches. Then there was only the ocean and the sky and the figure of Howard Rourke. I would love to go over some of the symbolism of the fountainhead. Unfortunately, there isn't any. I could forgive how bland the characters were in We the Living. It was her first novel. I could even give it a pass in Anthem, because it's pointed out that none of the characters have dealt with emotion before. But you don't really have an excuse for the absolute lack of emotion to any character in almost 700 pages. But when people ask Ayn Rand why she's such a bad writer, because trust me, her next novel is no fucking better, she said she wrote it like that on purpose. She could write well, she just didn't want to distract people from the message. That's her excuse.
I mean, I mean, fuck. I mean, as far as bullshit goes, that's pretty solid. Like,
What, I didn't want to Dieter from the Message in like 700 pages?
No. I'm not telling you she's correct. I'm just saying, hey man, that's good bullshit.
No, it isn't.
No. It's
You have more pages than most books do to give you a message. Like,
it's solid bullshit. As far as like, everybody knows you're full of shit, but I mean, hey, that's a solid nobody believes that excuse. That's what I mean.
I guess she made it a lot easier for people to be like, that's not true. Like, than anyone else that was trying to bullshit, because it's just a bad lie. Every single character is a straw man argument as to why Ayn Rand is right and everybody else is wrong. We haven't even gotten to her philosophy yet. She still hasn't created objectivism, and she's already made a fan fiction of her own ideals. I mean, motherfucker, you don't want people to get distracted from the message of your book? Do you really think people can interpret everything that goes on in Ulysses, but they'll get too confused if you have any goddamn emotion in your book? Not a single character loses their temper. Everyone is calm as a fucking beatnik. And speaking of Ulysses, Ulysses is well known as one of the most boring books ever written. You want to know why it's also regarded as one of the...
even I know that, but...
It is. You want to know why it's also regarded as one of the greatest novels ever made? Because it's stacked with symbolism upon symbolism, and it makes it interesting again. The Fountainhead is just a bunch of characters that are like if boners were people. It's just fucking... It was the same year that Anthem was released, in 1938, that Ayn Rand got a contract to publish The Fountainhead with Knopf, Knopf. Like 3 of the letters in there are fucking silent.
Knopf.
With Knopf Inc. However, 2 years later, when Knopf discovered Rand was only a quarter done with her book, they dropped her. Her agent took a look at the novel and said, maybe you ought to change a few things and get it published. Like Howard Rourke, Ayn Rand would not be compromised, so she fired him. Overall, she went through 12 publishers before a new editor for Bobbs Merrill told the head office, if this is not the book for you, then I am not the editor for you. She was signed with Bobbs Merrill on December 10th, 1941, and given a $1,000 advance. She delivered the final product just a little over 2 years later on December 31st, 1943. Although initial sales were slow, word-of-mouth marketing allowed The Fountainhead to climb the charts over the course of the next 2 years until it reached number 6 on the New York Times bestseller list. Upon its release, Fountainhead had very mixed reviews. People either loved it or hated it. One reviewer said that they loved it, but then years later they actually said, it is better read when one is young enough to miss the point. Otherwise, one cannot help thinking it is a very silly book. The biggest criticisms with the book were its length, which could have easily told the same story in like 400 or 500 pages, rather than 700, and of course, Rand's treatment of women, who again are nothing more than objects. Are you shocked?
I mean...
You were taken aback there.
Apparently not if you're Ayn Rand.
But it still found its audience. The Fountainhead, along with Rand's final novel, Atlas Shrugged, is a libertarian and conservative Bible. Donald Trump even lied during his 2016 campaign and said he read and loved the book, fancying himself a sort of Howard Rourke.
Everybody knows he can't fucking read. Look, man, we can smell our own.
He probably identified a bit too well with the raping, honestly. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, no, we're not pulling punches on that guy.
No, I mean,
absolutely
why
not.
would you lie about having read that book? I mean, of all things.
To appease dumbass conservatives?
I guess.
100%.
In 1944, Ayn Rand sold the rights for The Fountainhead to Warner Brothers, who released an adaptation in 1949 starring Gary Cooper and directed by King Vidor. Warner Brothers was not fucking around. Like, those are big fucking names. And to make it the way the author intended, they hired Ayn Rand to pen the script for it too. And I mean, they gave her everything she wanted, so that she couldn't, supposedly so she wouldn't fucking complain. She fully endorsed the movie, thanking everyone, very publicly. When the movie premiered, people were very excited to see The Fountainhead. When people came out of the movie, no one would even look the actors in the eye. They were so embarrassed for them.
Whoa.
Needless to say, the movie bombed. There's actually, so Patricia Neal plays the part of, I think, Dominique, in it, and I don't think anybody gets raped, but I haven't seen it because it's a Ayn Rand movie. Why would I watch it? So, anyways, Patricia Neal like went in excited to see how the movie was going to turn out, because truly when you're an actor, you're not in every fucking scene. You don't know how the whole thing's going to turn out. You have the full script, surely, but between like music and editing, we'll see, you know what I mean? So she goes in all excited to see it, and it was awful. When she comes out, nobody's looking at her, and her friend, who's also an actress, like ran up to her, and she was like, "Patricia, darling, that was terrible. How do you feel?" Like, and of course, once the movie became critically panned, Ayn Rand turned around and said she had nothing to do with it, and the filmmakers ruined her vision. She fucking Alan Moore'd them before Alan Moore. And, well, it was while trying to fight fatigue and rushing to the deadline of The Fountainhead that Ayn Rand was prescribed amphetamines. She would be a constant user.
Oh, great. That'll fucking help.
She would be a constant user for the next 3 decades.
Yeah, make her more focused on being shitty. Like, what?
Well, now I'm even more focused on ultra-capitalism, which... I know. A new book!
Right, so we're like, look, lady, we're going to prescribe you this. Maybe you can just make, like, an argument.
It's just...
that we can't just toss into the fucking gutter, like, as soon as we look at it. Like, I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you, we're going to pack this one away to talk about one of the longest books, no joke, ever written. And
oh, fuck.
Her magnum opus to at least somebody.
And we're doing it.
We're going to do it. We're going to talk about it.
You did it. You went through it. You wrote the thing.
I read the whole fucking thing.
Wait, seriously?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I put down a little thing later on in the book, or the book,
shit,
the fucking...
just cracked?
I put a thing later on in the script here about
30?
Like, yeah.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. I'm fully into libertarian ideals. Let me tell you. No,
you're changing the subject here. I heard the voice crack there, and
I put a thing in at the end of the script.
Don't gloss over it. No. We're not. I'm not letting it go.
What? That I read all of them?
No, that your voice cracked.
Oh, I didn't notice actually.
Yeah, I'm like, holy shit! Like maybe your body has hope.
Hold on,
maybe you're gonna go through a second puberty here. This maybe isn't the last
maybe
straw.
It's because I've read 13 fucking pages and on end. I don't know. So either way, I put this at the end of like the script for this, and I'm sure I'll come back to bitching about it before, but I might as well explain myself now, since we're going to have this in 2 parts. But basically, so I never read anything by Ayn Rand, and I'm sitting minding my own fucking business in like the PCC just somewhere, and my friend's dad, who is, you know, a custodian, like came rolling by with the trash can and everything, and was like, "Hey man, oh wow, look at you, that's a really big book you're reading." I think I was reading fucking, I don't know, Don Quixote or something, and he's like, "You know, if you're really into like big books," and it's like, that's not the reason I'm reading it, you know, but he's like, "You know what book is fucking great is Atlas Shrugged." And I was like, you know, I have seen people read it and I know nothing about that or the author. Maybe I'll give it a shot. And I also thought it was odd because it's like I've always seen it on like top 10 lists of stuff, not really knowing what the lists were about. But I'm like, I frequently see Atlas Shrugged, so I'm like, okay, like let's give this a shot. So I only later found out that my friend's dad is an ultra Republican. And so I read...
After reading the entirety of Atlas Shrugged, I was like, wait a minute, that's man.
So here's the thing. I read through Atlas Shrugged, and the first, like, while, it's not badly written. She does become a better, like, writer in terms of prose, like, as she gets older. Like, it's still written well in a structure. The characters are dry as fuck, and things seem a bit off, like, well, that's not what a person would do. But I still read through it, and then... by the time I get to, people will know this and we'll talk about it later on, that point of Atlas Shrugged, once I got to that fucking point of Atlas Shrugged, I was like, holy fucking shit. And so I slogged through it, and it took me forever, and by the time I finished it, I was like, holy fuck, could it be that Atlas Shrugged is just her one work that's really bad? I mean, I've heard The Fountainhead is also something really good. So I went, and I actually read through The Fountainhead. I was like, by the end of that, I was like, fuck me. They were both awful. And then I was like, well, she's only written 4 books. The other 2 are fucking minuscule compared to these.
You just waited for it to kick the entire time.
Basically, I was like
20 hours in, just like,
I was like, why are people into this? Why do people like this? And then I found out what kind of people like it. And it was like, oh, these are the same people that are big fans of the Bible who have also never read the Bible. I was like, fuck, of course.
No,
like,
yeah, no, that's
I was
exactly
like, God,
where you're
fucking
going
damn it. So I was looking at it, and I'm like, Anthem is a very short book, and so is We the Living. I might as well crack out a full author. So I went and did it. And you know what? It got better as the books got, like, earlier. so that's my excuse.
So we're out for today.
We're out for
today on all of this shit that she's previously done. And there's the second part. It's just
Atlas Shrugged. It's going to be a short episode comparatively.
God.
But it is, I believe, the 27th longest novel ever written.
Oh. Okay. Well, it's going to be fucking rad.
Join us next week as we as we talk about just one of the worst human beings.
Worst human beings, apparently one of the worst and longest books.
Oh, it's fucking up there. All right, well, fuck it. See you later, everyone. Have fun.
Good seeing you.
Good hearing from you.
Yeah, good hearing from you. Thanks for the support, everybody.
Follow us on fucking.
Go on.
I got a Twitter.
You got a Twitter?
We got a Twitter.
You're asking for following on your. We have
a Twitter that I've activated and haven't put up like a profile picture or anything with yet. So.
Well, then don't tell them about it.
We've got a Twitter. We've also got you can go on to CalebCan'tRead.com where all the pictures are not yet uploaded onto it, so that's unfinished. But
CalebCan'tRead.com is just a big scroll of Caleb vomiting into toilets. And
I wish. And you can hear us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, I think. You know what? It doesn't matter. If you're listening to this now, why the fuck do I need to tell you?
Yeah, no. It's
listening to it now.
Yeah.
Anyways, bye!